One part about the NFL that I believe people adore is how you can be a star no matter where you come from or when you were drafted. Take a look at Tom Brady. That man was drafted in the 6th round of the NFL draft, which is normally the irrelevant part of the draft. Speaking of irrelevant, that helps introduce the topic of this video. Before he played, Brock Purdy was known as Mr. Irrelevant and never seemed like he had any future in the NFL. The man was a QB3 and was behind two decent quarterbacks known as Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. But now, Purdy has been capable of helping the Niners in their toughest times. After losing both Lance and Jimmy G from injuries, Purdy has been capable of helping the Niners win their division and help their winning streak live another day, which has now gone up to 9 games. So let me ask the question, how did Brock Purdy go from Mr. Irrelevant to, well, Mr. Relevant? Let's take a look. Before we can get to the main part of Purdy's story, we must go back to the beginning and see the path he had to go through in order to get to his position today. Brock Purdy was born and raised in Queen Creek, Arizona. He was the middle child of an older sister, Whitney Purdy, and a younger brother, Chubba Purdy. A fun fact about Chubba is he is currently attending the University of Nebraska and is the quarterback of the team. He is currently out with an ankle sprain, but he should be back soon. Let's take a look at how Brock Purdy's high school career went. He was the starting quarterback on his varsity team in 2015 as a sophomore, which is pretty impressive for a guy his age. The average sophomore is 15 to 16 years old, and he could very well be competing with 18-year-olds and, more importantly, highly skilled athletes. However, while Purdy had some talent, he was looked at as a mediocre prospect compared to the league. 24/7 Sports gave him a 3-star rating, which isn't very helpful for Purdy's future as it can very well affect how colleges look at him. He would get accepted into Iowa State University. Brock Purdy would actually be the first quarterback to make it to the NFL from this university. Before Purdy, they only produced 11 NFL players. Brock would attend for 4 years at the university, and his best season was by far 2019, when he threw for 3,982 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. That gave him a passing efficiency rating of 151.1. He did this in his sophomore year of college. Clearly, him and sophomore year just clicked. But this wasn't even his career high. In his freshman year, his pass rating was at 169.9, which is insane. So with all of this being said, you'd probably think Brock would have a high draft pick. I mean, these stats are insane. But that wasn't the case. He was the final pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, which gave him the nickname of Mr. Irrelevant. So how did Purdy play so well in college, yet ended up being the last pick of the draft? Well, according to Greg Kossel, an executive producer and analyst, there was a valid reason. He was invited on the Ross Tucker podcast back in April 2022, and here's what he had to say about Purdy's draft selection. Quote, "Look, there's a reason he was the last pick of the draft. Because he was a 4-year starter at Iowa State, he did play 46 games as a starter, so he played a lot of college football. He'd add on by saying, but he's one of those guys that has average arm strength. He tends to be streaky with his accuracy. He does move well, and he's not physically imposing. So, he was not seen as a good prospect." Let me know down in the comments if you agree with Kossel or not. But either way, Purdy had to have a plan on how he was going to become a starting quarterback, let alone a quarterback who can go out on the field. At the beginning of the season, he was a QB3, right behind Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, two guys who seemed like they were trustable quarterbacks. As for Lance, this was his first season of proving the Niners what he was all about. So what was Purdy's plan going to be? Well, I guess you could call it luck. Injuries was the plan, and as bad as that may sound, it's the truth. Lance would get injured in week 2 against the Seattle Seahawks. He would suffer a season-ending right ankle injury, which was a big deal for Niners fans. This man was essentially the future of the team. So it was time for Jimmy G to go back out there. Garoppolo played pretty well as the Niners' backup QB. The Niners won 8-3 when he was on the field. But then, another injury occurred. Garoppolo suffered a broken foot, which would put an end to his regular season. There is a chance he can make a return in the playoffs, which will be interesting to see what Kyle Shanahan will decide doing. Because right now, Brock Purdy has been a stud. When it was first announced that Brock would be starting, the memes were surfacing on the internet as everyone believed Purdy had nothing to prove and that the Niners were in trouble. Purdy did play a little bit in Week 11 against the Arizona Cardinals, and he missed a handoff to Jordan Mason. He went the wrong way, and when you look at it, it's pretty funny. But then the memes came where everyone referred to him as Mr. Irrelevant and how useless of a player he was. But little did those fans know, Purdy went off. In his first week as a starter, he beat the Dolphins 33-17 while throwing for 210 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He would then face Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and completely obliterated them. He beat the Bucs 35-7. I don't think anyone expected for that outcome to occur. Purdy would go on to beat the Seahawks, Commanders, and Raiders. Purdy is 5-0 as the starting quarterback. He has helped the Niners go on to clinch the playoffs and, more importantly, win their division. The Niners now have a chance at having the best record in the NFL, which is hard to believe. I mean, who would have thought that the final pick of the NFL draft would turn into this key gem for the Niners? Purdy will play the Arizona Cardinals next. With Kyler Murray injured, it shouldn't be as hard for the man, but we will find out. So in the end, I guess Brock Purdy's career is best described as a life lesson. You can be successful in anything you do no matter where you come from. In Purdy's case, no matter what pick you were in the draft. We will see what the future holds for the 23-year-old. And that is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This was my first upload in 2023, so leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'd really appreciate that. And let me know down in the comments, do you guys think Brock Purdy has a bright future in the league, or is he just going to be a one-year wonder? And I will see you all in the next one. I'm out.